Ceccaroni.
Man, I miss Italy. Like, the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, I wish we could just spend more time there. And I saw that I think Taylor sent me a meme or something on Instagram. Like, why are all the adults I know going to Japan or Italy right now in their lives? Because they're both superior in many ways to North America, I guess.
Yeah. I question every day why we live here.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that, I just curse my parents. And instead of making my own decisions like the 34-year-old grown woman that I am, continue to live in the town that I was raised in. So cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Welcome to Shoot Your Shot, the podcast. It's a radio call-in show that's now a podcast. And we take questions, concerns, hot takes delivered from you to our DMs on the Shoot Your Shot podcast Instagram. And we answer them here live to tape on the show. You're either watching us on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast app.
Podcast and app.
We start the show every time with a question to the holy, magical, mystical 8-Ball.
This is Tim Musa.
I'm a photographer.
I'm Lindsay Coulter. We're both photographers. And what does the 8-Ball have to do with photography, you ask? Absolutely nothing, except creativity and fun times.
And novelty, which is what we're all looking for in life. Lindsay, do you have a question for the old 8-Ball?
Should we? Oh, I have a good idea.
Okay.
So just so you guys know, go scroll back a couple of episodes.
Yeah.
Tim got
Go.
engaged.
Oh, yeah.
And my life mission now is plan Tim's wedding.
Oh, yeah.
So speaking
Weddings.
of Italy.
We were planning multiple. We're going to go down rabbit holes to see which one makes the most sense.
Yes, actually, maybe we should make it a podcast. No, we shouldn't. It's going to be like therapeutic. And I feel like, planning most things is like, it's just my love language.
Yeah.
I'm an Aries sun sign and a Virgo moon sign. So I love big creative ideas.
Okay.
Also forcing things on my friends that they haven't asked for. Although you want to get married. So I'm really just trying to expedite the process.
Yeah.
And then the Virgo in me is like, should we make a list?
Okay.
So I've started, going down the rabbit hole. But anyways, one of the rabbit holes we are going to go down.
Yes.
When we have our wedding planning meeting is going to be planning your wedding in Italy. And so if for those of you who might be planning something, you have to explore all the options.
Okay. Tell me about that.
If I say we're going to go to Tuscany, it's like such a royal we. I'm not paying for any of this, okay? I am literally just going to make the plan.
And then you have to do it. And if you don't live up to if you don't do everything I said, it's your fault.
Then
No, but I appreciate that. Honestly, having a friend who has, sorry, that sounds like it's not you. Having you as a friend,
Thank you.
Plan things for me and kind of like give me ideas and options takes so much guesswork out of things. Because I woke up this morning after having a bit of a mini nightmare about the wedding day and like.
Yours?
Yeah. And it was like, I never felt anxiety about most things in my life. And then I was anxious about like the posing we had to do and the type of like photos we had to do. I'm like,
oh, interesting.
Oh, weird.
Absolutely not. You don't have to do any of that though.
And I woke up knowing that in my head. I had that thought. I'm like, oh, I don't do any of that shit. That's fine. But there was an expectation. I'm like, wow, this industry really has put a lot of bugaboos in my head.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what our couples feel. It gives me a lot of empathy. Honestly, this process, as shallow into the pool I am, as far as
barely
it goes,
dipped a toe.
I barely dipped a toe. I'm starting to feel a lot of empathy and understanding for the couples, which I'm sure you did too, having, been married 2 separate ceremonies. You did kind of like a...
But I liked the process.
You loved it.
I really enjoyed it. But the thing that I liked the most about it was that I only said yes to the things that we loved. And I said absolutely not to the things that I did not love.
For sure.
So the question I have for the 8-Ball is, will Tim and Kelly get married in Italy?
Ooh.
That's a good one. Let's give it an ask. The site of where we got you engaged, the most romantic place in town, pasta, villas, vineyards, Canadian free taxes. I mostly just want to go to Europe again.
Reply hazy. Try again.
Oh, so we have to explore more.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. We
That's
have
good
to
to know.
explore more.
It's not off the table, but it's definitely...
Reply is hazy. That's fine. Okay, well, it wants me to put the spreadsheet together before it makes a decision. And honestly, so do I. If it had come back with an answer, I'd be like, I'm not ready. We have to workshop this still.
I'm happy to give my nays and yeses for the things that you
we have to go. We have to go all the way down.
You got to focus on what you want. Listen, we're a call-in show. We riff a bit. Let's get to a call.
Let's get to a call.
This
I would love it.
Is a video recording I took at a Pearl open house. They're a wedding conglomerate juggernaut in the area. And
Juggernaut is right.
We did an open house, and a few vendors we love were there, so I thought I'd capture some videos. Let's go to Jeff.
My question for you is, okay, slightly vain, maybe, but how can I help a photographer take the best possible image? What are some tips for a person working the wedding that's in some of the photos to help produce the best possible photos for the couples?
Great question, Jeff Mack. Jeff Mack is a wedding officiant, also one of the most handsome men we have at our disposal.
I feel like I think he's just leading us on because we already know what the answer is.
Well, we know the answer.
Look at how handsome you are. You should be in all the photos.
Just be in all the photos. Just be crisp in all the photos.
If I looked like that, I would take selfies with my clients.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be like, oh, did you not want me in your bride and groom photos?
Why would you not want? I think that's honestly one of the major selling features for Jeff Mack is like really he's just a handsome guy. And that probably gets him 20% more bookings than most officiants.
I don't know. I have questioned and I've actually asked him, do you sometimes worry you're a little bit too handsome?
And what is his response?
What if you've got a couple up there and the groom is like, shit.
That's why we hired this guy.
Yeah.
A little eye candy. Honestly, not to subjectify Jeff. He's a wonderful human being. He's very smart.
He's incredibly talented.
Very funny.
Very engaging.
Just gifted by the gods with a great chin.
He walks up to the front of a room, regardless of how sleepy it is. It could be a retirement home where these people are literally about to go have a nap before cocktail hour. And Jeff will walk in and be like, what's up, everybody? Are you ready to get fired up? I've had 3 Red Bulls right now. It's not even at the top of my game. Yeah. I'm about to have 6 Red Bulls by the time we finish this ceremony.
I'm gonna chug 3.
And we're going to get these 2 married. And are you excited?
It's big cocaine energy without the cocaine. Like he can, but then he also does this thing where he kind of brings his energy back down for the meaningful moments.
And then it's somehow,
and he lowers everything and he brings the tempo and the atmosphere down for meaningful things. And it's beautiful. You go on this really interesting ride.
How do you get people crying after you've just been making jokes about chugging Red Bulls?
Doing backflips and jumping through hoops of fire.
It's just pretty wild.
Jeff's a talented man. It's interesting. So most wedding officiants are not Jeff. Which we understand. We can't work with him every weekend. There's only so many couples, so many venues, so many dates on the calendar. So when I go up to, let's say, for instance, a wedding officiant who I've never met, I'll say, hey, Tim, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you. Tim, officiant? Great. Amazing. I have 2 questions for you. Is there anything you need from me? And then are they doing the signing first and then the kiss, or the kiss and then the signing?
Oh, you ask.
I go for it.
I like to be scared.
You live dangerously?
Yeah, I like to be scared all the time. I love to
just
be scared.
Every day of your life, just living in fear.
Listen, because if I'm not prepared, I mean, they might mix it up. They might have lied to me, and then I'm going to be like, what am I going to say? Hey, I missed the kiss because that jerk over there told me they were going to do it after the signing, and then they decided to do it before.
I just want to be prepared. I want to know when I need to be down the aisle, and I can typically listen and hear and understand.
It's much more important for you because you're doing video a lot of the time.
A lot of the time, it's that.
I'm just going to be. Yeah. I can usually tell by their 6 words they say before they're going to get them to kiss.
Okay.
Not necessarily in a church setting. Anyways, I digress.
No, it's that's helpful. Honestly, this is a show of digressions.
You say, "What's up? What do you need from me?"
Yeah.
And then do they ever say,
"Never.
Don't go anywhere. I hate everything about your being here." I mean, really only in a Roman Catholic ceremony, you get. If you could actually, do you see that door out there? Could you be on the other side of it?
Same way you came in, just the same one.
And then do you see your car? Jump in it.
Jump in it and drive it off that cliff. That's most church weddings are like that. Not all of them, but a fair amount. And I feel it's just because maybe they're bitter.
God doesn't like photography.
God doesn't like photography. He loves paintings. He loves stained glass.
If we painted the ceremonies, I think that the Father would say yes.
I
say the Father like the priest. I don't think God is saying
seats, no. And he loves miracles.
Speaking of God, let's talk about Jeff.
So if they'll rarely tell me what they need from me. It's usually they'll offer something at that point. They'll say, "Oh, I'll make sure to get out of the way of the first kiss." I'm like, "Sure you will." I appreciate that. Everyone says that. About 50% of them actually do.
Okay, so I would like to take a step back. Can you show us Jeff Mack again? Will you bring him back onto the screen?
There's Jeff.
Let's workshop Jeff's outfit here for a moment, okay? Because this is what Jeff looks like when he does weddings.
Amazing.
He's got a bow tie that he actually ties himself.
You can tell. He's
got a tuxedo shirt, nice whatever collar. He's got a fully tailored suit on at all times.
Yeah.
His hair is done nicely.
Coiffed.
He's cleanly shaven.
He's like a 5 o'clock, I'd say. 4:30.
Clean, intentionally shaven is what I'm trying to look for. I don't know what the words are, but he's got a nice watch on. And yes, guy's absolutely ripped. Okay. So even if you're not going to get 5 for 5,
Okay.
the bare minimum I think that's required of officiants or people that are wedding vendors that are going to be seen in photos.
Yes.
That means officiants, of course, but wedding musicians,
Painters who do the live painting.
wedding planners
That
are going to be holding the veil, whatever.
Often in shots. Yep.
The very bare minimum that I think can be expected from you
Okay.
is showered.
Love that.
An outfit that is either suiting the moment
Oh, yes.
or blending in with the obvious nature of your job,
Yeah.
right? So if you're a musician and you feel like wearing a floral dress because that suits, then by all means, of course you should do that.
Absolutely.
If you end up just wanting to wear a black cocktail dress because that's what you usually wear in the symphony, that's also cool. I
Go
think
for it.
that's delightful.
Absolutely.
The thing that hurts me
Okay.
is when
pains,
an
the
officiant
pains.
shows up and they've decided to mix it up
Okay.
because they are bored. That's
Sure.
why I assume this happens, okay? They are trying to get creative. And instead of getting creative in perhaps the things that they say
Okay.
or how they present the ceremony, they decide to get creative in a tie.
Oh.
In a tie. In a tie, okay?
Like a
the
piano tie?
the tie is not the place to get creative in a wedding ceremony. If you wear a piano tie, I would accept. That one is absolutely a yes.
That's on
but
the
if
table.
you are deciding to get creative with a bright red tie,
Okay.
a bright purple tie,
Love it.
a bright
Don't love it.
any sort of colored tie
That doesn't match the
that
scene.
wasn't requested specifically by the couple,
Okay.
that wasn't a intentional and on trend choice
Right.
that you made.
Right.
Okay. Because I'm not to say like you have like a mint green suit that I think slaps.
I've worn it like honestly like 3 times at this point. It slapped for the one wedding I shot with, and then I'm just like, this doesn't match anywhere else.
But it matches a lot of people's vibes, a lot of people's energy. Sometimes when my clients tell me the aesthetic of their wedding, I will wear a matching suit to.
Yeah.
I also know I'm not going to be in the photos, so
Yeah.
that's easy for me.
Oh, for sure.
But I know that I am a distracting element in a ceremony and in a reception.
Yeah.
But when an officiant decides to do something quirky,
Okay.
I just want to tell them to go get in their cars and walk out the door
Yeah.
and just go for a little drive and let me officiate now because your job here is done.
A point of reference, Jeff, albeit a glorious looking human being, very funny, very smart.
Yeah.
He made a faux pas for years.
Tell me.
That we corrected by berating him because he's a friend and because we love him and we want the best for him. And we know that he wants the best for our couples. He
I
works
forgot about
continually
this.
off of an iPad, which is wonderful. Although I worry about that because if it fails, you're just rat fucked for the whole ceremony. Like, what are you going to just
Well,
riff
it's probably
and,
on his own. He's got iCloud now.
But I mean, like,
He's, the
having
man's
a
got
phone?
backups.
Okay, hopefully
That's
there's a
to say,
backup.
like, oh, you've got a camera. How does that work if
I
it
have a
dies?
backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's assume.
Okay, let's assume he's got a plan. That's not what this is about. Jeff has an iPad, and God love him, he had a case for that iPad because it looks more like a book. But this case had a red bottom to it with a penguin sticker on
I'm
it.
still stressed. I'm
And
still stressed.
listen,
right
it's
now.
2024. It was 2022 when we noticed this. It's been enough years that there's enough.
No, it was easily 2021, I
Okay,
think.
we'll
but-
call it earlier then. Yeah, there's enough companies on the market that make delightful looking and professional looking iPad cases, even for the iPad.
Why do you even
mini.
need a case? Is the first question that I have.
If
Are
you're
you,
gonna
are
do
you
this-
planning on doing crazy things
And
during a
it's
ceremony?
incredibly distracting. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was like the red bottom idea of it to look like fancier,
So,
but it's
yes,
so distracting.
it
It's
was
distracting
on-
enough when the screen is like illuminated so brightly that they're just like in a blue underglow, and you photograph that, you're like, oh, you look like you're reading a horror film at like a campsite.
Yes.
This was distracting in a way where it's just like you just see a red rectangle at the bottom of him holding this iPad every time. And it was so incredibly, it just took away from so many photographs that we made and video that we made. It was just,
Jeff, we love
it had
you.
to go. It had to go.
But wow, it had to go. I'm
It
so
had to
happy
go. And
you
it
listened.
did. And he listened to us over time.
He did actually. This is how deep down the rabbit hole we got with roasting him on this case, and
Yeah.
then him being like, "I'm not ready to give up the case yet," but inside the case, and he's going to be upset that I don't remember the brand of the case because we talked about it so many times.
Okay.
But inside, so when you open the case up,
Yeah.
then you would flip it backwards, and on the back of the case, that was where the red interior was, right?
Yeah.
On the back of that red case, it had this sticker like this that had like, I don't know, I assume belongs to Jeff, returned to my mom. Like, I don't know what's going on there. But he actually reached out to the company and said, guys, you put this sticker in the dumbest spot of all time. First of all, nobody wants that, even if they're not flipping their thing open like that.
No one's checking this thing into
But it was like a sales thing for them. Like, it was like a sales thing.
It's wild.
And so he actually reached out to them and said, like, the sticker can't be removed. Like, this is kind of dumb that you have this on here.
Right.
My recommendation is maybe you want to do something about it. I don't really remember if they got back to him or what, but
okay. Shoot.
But in the end, they didn't send him an iPad case that had the sticker without it, is my knowledge. But anyways, now he has a fully black iPad case.
It's beautiful.
Jeff usually wears Louboutins, or has in the past worn Louboutins,
yes,
which have red bottoms. And so he was doing the red bottom thing. So the only thing that makes it allowed is that it was intentional. It wasn't a mistake. He didn't roll out of bed thinking, oh shoot, I forgot to steam my shirt this morning, so I'll just wear that golf shirt that I wore last Thursday to the course. No. Everything about his aesthetic and his appearance was intentional.
Premeditated, intentional.
And we disagreed with it.
Well, it was just that one thing.
Just the one thing we disagreed with. Yeah. And good for him, because if my friends started roasting something about my appearance on a wedding day, I would double down even harder, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So good for him for being like, okay, fine, I'll stop using the red iPad case. I actually started photoshopping it out of photos, because you would have a lot of the aesthetic of our couples is like lots of greenery, lots of white, and maybe a soft pink, of florals.
Yeah.
And then you have this red thing. And I also think like the color red is just so offensive.
It's aggressive.
To me. It's just so offensive.
It's psychologically triggered towards what, like hunger?
Yeah.
And like I don't think it's aggression, but it's like there's psychology with colors. Like yellow makes you hungry. That's why McDonald's uses red as well, because it's got this like this trigger in your body to be like, oh, I need to eat, basically.
Oh my
and when you have that on a wedding day, it's like, is it cocktail hour?
Is it cocktail hour? I need some snacks.
I think from a higher level. Well, let's go macro first.
Please.
Macro.
Lighter or bigger?
More sharp and smaller.
Okay.
Officiants, if you're gonna ask us what we can do to get out of to help you get great photos in the day, most couples want you out of the way for the first kiss. Most couples
for rings.
Rings. Make sure you have the rings kind of visible. Hold them up a bit.
Oh, I was going to say, and get out of the way for rings, because when people are doing this and there's a lot of distracting clutter behind, sometimes it's easier if you get away.
Oh, I see what
just
you
get
mean.
A nice shot of both hands.
Oh,
this
true.
way. That's nice.
That's very smart. I didn't think about that. Yeah. Here
Welcome.
we are. Welcome to the club. Those are like the main ones, basically. If you want the couple, if they want to like have a photo of them looking at you while they sign the registry, the legal paperwork.
Ask them to pop their eyes up real quick.
Sure, that's great too.
Yeah.
But from a 10,000 foot level, I think understand and adapt to the wedding industry as it evolves, like Jeff does. He does everything very intentionally, like we mentioned, down to like, the way he coiffs his hair. Like he's very intentional. He knows what he looks like. He knows the value that he brings to a wedding day. So being aware of yourself is much more important, and it will just bleed in and trickle into every other part of the day.
Of course.
And how you present yourself and how you conduct a ceremony.
Of course. And I think, how Jeff shows up to a wedding day works for all of his clients.
Yeah.
I think he does do a really good job of trying to get to know who his ideal clients are and the types of people that are hiring him.
Yeah.
I don't imagine that he gets a lot of backyard hootenannies.
I don't think, not anymore.
Just based on, like he wears a tuxedo most days.
Yeah.
So then if you're the officiant that does a lot of backyard hootenannies, then you show up looking like Jeff, and that would be silly, That would just be a bit, that would be weird. Why are you wearing $1,100 shoes
in a mud pile?
In a barn
next to a couple pigs?
Listen, and we've shot barns. This isn't me throwing any shade at the backyard hootenanny.
No.
But I'm going to wear my Veja sneakers instead of my black velvet flats. And I always have shoe options in my car, because I might think I have a pretty good idea of what I'm getting myself into on a wedding day.
Yep.
But you just never really know. here's an interesting one, and this is like very specific.
Okay.
So when you're talking about asking the officiant to get out of the shot,
Okay.
this always makes me laugh.
Hit it.
Because sometimes officiants will do like a half get out of the way.
Okay.
Or
They'll duck behind.
yes, they'll like try to make themselves look small. I'm like, I can still see you. Or they will step half out of the way so that they're just directly behind the bride or the groom.
Got it.
Now, I don't do a ton of retouching. I have certainly started doing a lot more ever since I started using Imagen to edit my images, because I can do so much more without having to color correct every single photo.
Yeah.
One thing that I will always do, if I can, is remove, if the officiant has not disappeared themselves entirely from my shot.
Magic.
Yeah, if they haven't completely disappeared from the shot, one thing I will do is I will try to remove the officiant using a generative fill AI, which is like also so helpful. Oh my gosh.
So helpful.
If you're not using this yet, click edit in Photoshop, pull it in.
No, you don't have to anymore. Lightroom, it's
you're
built into
so
Lightroom.
right. You're right.
Lightroom
I haven't even done it
extension.
yet. I haven't. I'm not doing it because the last 3 times that I've updated my Lightroom, I have been absolutely destroyed by it.
Okay.
Destroyed.
But
and
regardless,
why do they always screw with me in the
Mid-bleeding?
peak? So yeah,
Because
so
it's
I'm
Adobe,
not,
they don't care.
I am not doing the update until I know for sure
things are ready and polished.
I don't need my catalogs
It's still in beta.
to just gone girl themselves.
I
You know what I
get it.
mean? I don't need every single time I hit next on a photo for it to
Yes.
not go next. Remember when it did that
I
for
remember.
like a 6-month
You had a
period?
good time. The point you're making is that it's so easy to use content aware fill
To remove
things.
But the one thing that I think is really important I like to actually explain, like probably too far to people, why I want them to do things. So to take a tiny little tangent off of this tangent. We were shooting a wedding. Tim and I were shooting a wedding on Friday, and there was a gorgeous little sunset spot. Tim had done some scouting, and he found this like really nice little pocket of light.
Beautiful.
In some ivy.
Ooh.
And right beside the ivy was a post that said no smoking or vaping.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to put them there, but it's just rough when I'm looking at a Photoshop here. Like I know what I'm doing here, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Could I use a prism? Blah, blah, blah. Sure.
Prism. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could do something in camera. I could like pull a leaf in front, but the way the shot worked, I was just going to shoot it knowing that I'm going to get rid of the sign in post.
Yes.
The groom said, let me just stand sort of in front of it. But the sign
Very
was
sweet of him, by the way.
very thoughtful.
Yeah.
The groom's head would have left like he would have been here, and then, he would have been in the middle of this sign.
Yeah.
And then there would have been corners coming out of his head.
Yeah, not great.
So for anybody who does a lot of retouching, you know how much easier it is to just grab the whole damn square and content aware and generative fill it right on out.
Gone girl. Yeah.
If an officiant decides to stand partially behind the couple, that is so much worse than just being directly in the shot.
You have to draw around.
I would rather that you stand right beside and behind the couple. If you can't get all the way out, stand with a firm little barrier right behind.
Bingo.
Preferably the groom, because the bride probably has got a veil or some train or whatever that I'm going to have to work with.
Yeah.
Don't try to hide in the flower arrangements beside them.
What if they're like really big?
This is the thing. It's just, I'm going to have to then remove you from one half of the flowers and one half of the flowers. If you're not fully like gone.
Or like isolated in a space where there's nothing overlapping with you in space.
If you're not doing I've seen Jeff do this a lot.
Yeah.
He will actually start speaking as he's walking away, and he will announce them while he's like 12 feet away.
I've suggested that to people, like, I never thought of that. I'm like, I never thought about
it
that.
can be confusing if you haven't explained to the couple what you're going to do, because they're looking at you like, should we be following you?
No, but I've seen it. He does it all the time. Ooh, another point that he makes. We'll go back to AI because this is very important. It actually leads into our next hot take.
Oh, okay.
Is he will get them at the front, and the first thing he does once they're standing there is like, you guys good? Good to go? Amazing. And I hear this because I have audio when I do video of him.
Oh, okay.
And he'll position them, and usually the photographer's down the aisle, and he'll make eye contact with the photographer and be like,
centered, yeah.
Like, good here, right here, good, okay, cool. okay, guys, you guys can hold hands if you want. And he primes them in that moment to
Yes.
be like, focus on each other. This is where you need to stand.
Yes.
It's perfect for the
Let's
photographer.
set you
who
up in a
has
good spot.
Symmetry, so it looks good on the wider shot as well as the close shot. The what is it? The altar, the floral arrangements, arbor,
whatever
pergola,
it might be.
whatever it might be, has them centered in it. Like it's a perfect way to line up a shot for the viewing angle of everyone in the show, in the audience, as well as any photographs that the couple are having taken by the photographer. So like it's so ideal. And so by priming them in that space, once they do the signing, they come back for the kiss. Even if he's off to the side, they know like, oh, we were told to stand here initially.
Yeah, so we'll come on back. Hit your mark.
Hit your mark, man.
Hit your mark. It's honestly, it's very, very helpful. And I never want my clients to have to be looking over their shoulder at me to say, is this the right spot? So it's great when the people that are working the production side of things can have that in mind so that they get to be just really firmly present in the moment. They just get to enjoy the ceremony. Like one of the things that I kind of realized early on is like if I'm engaging with my clients during the ceremony, something has gone horribly awry. If there's any world in which I'm speaking to them, like something has gone wrong. Actually, very funny.
Okay.
I've gone up to a bride and groom 2 times in the past year and a half.
During the ceremony?
During ceremonies.
Tell me about this.
While they're signing.
Okay.
Because that's my only time where no one really cares about what's going on, to be honest. Like whatever the officiant or the priest or somebody is doing, they truly don't really care.
Yeah.
Maybe the maid of honor is signing. They have to sign so much.
There's music happening. Guests are kind of chatting with each other. Like,
they have to sign so much more information. Like the witnesses have to sign like their whole addresses and everything. So if there is anything that I need because the couple has not been standing centered, or something's gone wrong, like I don't know, say something like his fly is wide open and I just personally don't want him to feel embarrassed, or whatever it might be, I might go up and be like, tiny little whisper, and then I just jaunt off. So 2 times it has happened, and the most recent one was this past Friday.
Yes.
And I said to you, I'm gonna go up to them during the signing. And it's so funny that I'm telling you this after I just said, if I speak to the couple during their ceremony, something's gone
completely wrong.
But something was going wrong. Something was going very wrong. We were in one of the darkest ceremony spaces that was backlit entirely by a
giant, beautiful
huge bank of windows.
But it was a cave.
And it was the brightest, sunniest day. So our cameras were struggling to focus when things were moving quickly. It was no issue at all during the actual ceremony when things are moving slowly. But I was very concerned. So anybody that shoots with the R6, this is an R6 problem. So you've got the couple lined up in the middle and the officiant's behind them. What happens when the officiant says, okay, now kiss, and he walks off as they kiss is the AI is then going, do I focus on the man that's moving? Which generally that's what it would do. It would prioritize the movement in the shot. Or do I prioritize the person that's in the front? So I basically always have my thumb on the back, like working as a cursor, trying to override it if I need to.
Okay.
However, when it's that backlit, it's doing too much to try to meter for the scenario. And like, obviously I'm shooting full manual in this moment, but the focus is not full manual.
If it's exposing for the highlights for any reason, if you're on like aperture priority, it'll be
so slow.
So especially for face tracking, it's difficult.
So I just wanted the couple, because they had been running like
through the whole
little
day.
Baby track stars the entire day. I have never been so stressed on a wedding day. I kept on saying to Tim and to Steph, the planner, like, does it feel like anybody else's first wedding? Because it feels like my first wedding today. Why? Like it literally feels like my first wedding because everything is so unexpected, and I don't know why. Like it's just like everybody is running. The ceremony. God help them if they had hired anybody but Tim and I, because the fact that we got multiple shots of every single person coming down that aisle and they were running in was crazy.
Good for us, man.
But yeah, truly good for us.
Almost 20 years combined experience. Good for us.
Gotta pump our own tires here.
Good
but during the signing, I went up to them and I said, can you guys just make sure that you don't rush your kiss. Just make it a good long one. Go for a kiss, even come out of it and go for another one if you want to.
Yeah.
Because it was also an officiant that I don't think I'd worked with before. He's
Which is wild.
delightful.
We've known him forever.
Yeah, he's delightful, but I didn't know if he's the kind of guy that's like, oh, kiss again. Like sometimes they'll do that, right? But I'm not making any assumptions. And in this scenario, I have like 0.0 amount of time to make this call.
Yeah.
So I just went up to them. I was like, make it a good one, please. It's so backlit.
Yeah.
I explained to them after the ceremony why it was. And my only fear with doing something like that is that then they're thinking like, is she worried she's not going to get it?
Yeah.
Right.
No,
like I don't want to make them worried, but also during the signing, I'm like, please just take your time.
Yeah.
At the end of it, they were like, did you get the first kiss? I was like, yes, you guys nailed it. To be fair, when I looked back at the photos, the first 3 went out of focus. They followed him.
Yeah.
Because he's literally a dark blob in the shot. He's just this black shadow. Like it was so crazy.
For moments like that, I will literally switch to manual focus. And the R6 has this little green box that like has arrows that line up. So when you start to get to a point where it's like, it'll track a face, which is amazing. It puts a box on eyes, even though it's a manual focus. And then you can use the manual focus ring to bring those two green arrows into like focus with each other over top. And it's like locked on. I'm not moving. They're not moving in terms of plane of existence towards me.
But sometimes they do. What if they do a dippy kiss where they decide to flip her around?
Just a little bit. Honestly, if you're far enough, you're at infinity, it probably won't make that much of a difference. But I hear what she's saying. Like it was really difficult.
It was really a lot of movement. And then usually I cue my clients to when they walk down the aisle, I do a little stop, stop, stop. They kiss midway through and then they keep going. So there was just a lot of things that I was like, this is new.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the second one before I move on because this one was the most traumatic one of my entire career.
I'm excited.
Cathedral wedding, $40,000 flower budget.
Why?
Okay, so gorgeous, gorgeous wedding.
Beautiful.
The most delightful couple. They were particular without being kooky.
I love that.
They gave me a lot of creative freedom.
Yeah.
They booked a good package, so we had a lot of hours together. They had a phenomenal planner. Like all of the stars were aligning here, except that their priest, either was on a sabbatical or something happened that the regular priest that does weddings at this cathedral was not available.
Was this one in Guelph?
Yes.
Okay.
The largest cathedral in our area. It's stunning.
The Basilica.
Yeah, it's the Basilica. And the priest, it was literally his first wedding.
Oh, no.
Okay. So priest doesn't really know what he's doing. No. He's not giving silent cues behind the scenes to the couple saying, here's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
There's so many moving parts for this ceremony.
He's just rolling. Yeah.
He had never done I think he'd done ceremonies. Like he's an older dude. He was actually, I think maybe even retired, but he had never done one at this church. He'd never worked with these people. I don't think he did their rehearsal.
Okay.
If he did, it didn't go well. So in a really big Catholic ceremony, the maid of honor and best man play a really big role.
Yes.
Like they are up at the front. They're doing ceremonies, like a ritual part of the ceremony together. They're very, very close to the bride and groom.
Yeah.
A lot of the time during a Catholic ceremony, they don't actually cue the couple to kiss because kissing is, I don't know, illegal.
Verboten.
I don't know why.
The Lord doesn't like photography. He doesn't like kissing.
They don't encourage the kiss inside of a lot of churches. No. They just want the couple to know when to do it. Sometimes they won't want to make it weird, and by not making it weird, they'll make it incredibly weird by just being like, okay, you can go ahead. Like
if you choose,
like they might not make it like a loud announcement, but they'll be like, go ahead, give it a go, whatever, right?
Kiss if you want to give a shit.
They do this as the bridesmaid and groomsmen, the maid of honor and best man, are crisscrossing in front. This is a moment where I really hope that you're watching video, okay? I'll paint you a picture. So the bride and groom are up here.
Okay, I'll switch to your camera. There we go.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
The bride and groom are up here, up on the chairs.
I'll be the.
It's not going to be good, Tim. It's not going to be good. No, I hate it.
The camera is perspective of the person watching. So.
Okay. They're about to kiss, and they do that. That's exactly what they do. They do a crisscross like this. Ugh. And so I'm here.
Okay.
And I literally like jump to the side. And the maid of honor and best man still don't know that they just kissed, except for the fact that some people in the audience saw it.
Yeah.
And some people in the audience were like,
clap.
What? The people beside me literally were like, holy shit, did you get that? And listen, dude. I did. But it is not a good photo. Oh. It is like
is the priest also behind them at this point? Like a
yeah, of course. Yeah,
but gargoyle.
But it It wasn't blurry, but it was an angle. It was me like jumping over the best man.
Good grief.
So I was like, oh, well, that's not ideal. And it's so funny, for all of the years that I've always worried about missing a first kiss, this is the very first time it's ever happened. And I was like, I felt confident. I was like, that was not my fault.
Yeah.
There was nowhere else I could have been because I couldn't have gotten any closer.
No.
And I couldn't have been on a wider lens. There was short of me being 2 feet taller and on a ladder.
Yeah.
There was no way that I was getting that shot. So
No
I was
chance.
like, what am I going to do? So I just went up to them during the signing and I said, when he announces you guys as husband and wife, just kiss again.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, okay. And at the end, they were like, did nobody see us kiss the first time? I was like, no. Because they said nobody really reacted. And I was like, no. And then I showed them the photos just so they could see. They were like, no way. Like,
you were where you need to be, but everything else was not where it needed to be.
And there was no amount of generative fill that's making that baby happen again. What am I going to do? I would literally have to go into Midjourney, assign it 2 faces and be like, make these 2 people kiss. And you can only imagine the weirdness that it would produce,
not
right?
quite his eyebrows. Next. Not her neck. Next.
Yeah, their hands are
The sad
clubs.
part about all of that is the fact that people like Jeff Mack, he's kind of like a lone gunman when it comes to officiants. You know what I mean? Like there's these people out there who exist who are officiants who that's their job, is they officiate weddings and some of them do end of life ceremonies. Jeff isn't doing baptisms. Jeff's not, he doesn't stand in front of a church of a clergy of people every Sunday. Priests in these giant organizations called the Catholic Church and whatever, love it, grew up Catholic, whatever. They will never improve because they don't give a shit about what looks good in photos. You know what I mean? They're never going to take any feedback you give them.
It's not their focus. And I've heard from some priests say, this is about the ceremony and this is about the ritual. This is not about the photos.
Sure.
And Boo, you and I couldn't agree on that more. I absolutely agree that it should be about the ceremony. It should be about what's going on. But can we not have it all?
Can we not have it all? Can we just make concessions on both sides? I'll happily not stand on these little tiny steps you've deemed to be the stairway to heaven if you will just let the couple face each other for a few seconds and get out of the way of the kiss. And also let me know when the kiss is happening. Make some adjustments on both ends. We've talked a lot about this one topic. Jeff Mack, look at him again. What a handsome guy.
What a guy.
Thank you so much for your question. Hope we've answered it. We'll tag you in this. Let's take a commercialism break. Mm-hmm. Sell some shit. We'll come back. We'll talk about AI, which is what the thumbnail of this whole video and episode's about. So thanks for sticking with us. You loved it. Commercialism. Lindsay, I've noticed something really interesting about your Instagram posts lately.
Oh, have you, Tim?
I feel like you're trying harder.
Oh my gosh. My secret, and it's not so secret, is social templates. Everyone who is a photographer knows how painful it is to make reels. Mm-hmm. Remember you used to be able to just take photos and then put them on Instagram and people would see them? No longer. Now you must make a reel. Now, in order for people to see said photos, they must be in video form.
Even if you're a photographer, you need to focus on video. And what is one of the ways you do that, Lindsay?
Social templates. So social templates is this incredible platform. When you're on Instagram and you go to somebody's Instagram and you're like, oh, I really love that reel. I'll show you one that I made. And you're thinking to yourself, wow, that's beautiful. It's synced to the beat. It's using a trending audio. I wish that I could make something like that. Well, now you can. So when you are a subscriber of Social Templates, you will get access to this private Social Templates account. You will then have access to brand new trending reels every single week. They put new ones out. You'll see how many. This one says 11 segments. So that can be photo, video, if you have BTS, if you have actual stills that you've already edited and delivered. It's really so simple. You'll hit this use template button and then you just plunk them in. Whoa. And they are already time synced.
Amazing.
So they're beat matched, they're time synced, and because the audio is trending and because it's current, it's going to put it into people's feeds, which is the goal. So it looks like I'm trying hard, but actually I'm trying not at all. Socialtemplates.co is where you're going to go to sign up. It's $29 a month, which is basically nothing when you compare it to the cost of having a marketing assistant or even just your own time spent in CapCut or whatever many apps. You use my code Lindsay, LINDSAY, and you will get the first month free. And I strongly recommend it. You're going to try it for the first month and you're going to be like, I'm in. So give it a shot. Socialtemplates.co. The promo code Lindsay.
Promo code Lindsay, socialtemplates.co. Back to the show. We're back.
We're back.
We're back for part 2 of this episode of Shoot Your Shot.
Here we are.
as always, you can send your DMs, your hot takes, your questions, your concerns about business, photography, anything related to the wedding and portrait photography world to the Shoot Your Shot podcast on Instagram.
And please do.
Please do.
Because we need you.
We need you.
We can keep talking about what we want to talk about, but we want to talk about what you want to talk about too.
We want to know what gets you excited or frustrated or scared, whatever it might be. So we got a little bit of a detour from our usual questions. We had a great one from Jeff earlier. We're going to hop into a very topical thing in the news right now when it comes to generative images created by things like Midjourney, created by things that create images, and also Photoshop and Lightroom, because that's part of it. We'll jump right into the article from Petapixel outlining Meta.
I'll read it. Okay. So you may have seen this on Threads, and I hope that you did. But the original post was by a guy named Yantastic, and he says, "How is this photo, quote unquote, made with AI?" At Mosseri, who is one of the current, maybe even the CEO of Instagram right now.
Yeah.
And as you probably have seen, I'll just describe it to you guys, but it's a photo of a Lawson grocery store with a mountain.
Yeah.
Do we call it Fuji?
That's
okay.
Fuji. Yep.
And he even posted the RAW. So he's got the .cr3 file right beside it.
Yeah. And
it very clearly shows that it is not at all altered. Maybe some minimal editing using Photoshop.
So I'll just read this part too if you're watching.
From Petapixel.
So Instagram's newly launched Made with AI labels are creating confusion as photographers and content creators are finding their posts slapped with the tags despite using minimal editing or apparently not using AI at all. Photographer Peter Yan took to Threads to ask Instagram head Adam Mosseri why this image of Mount Fuji had been given a Made with AI tag when it was a real photo he took. He goes on to say, "I did not use generative AI, only Photoshop to clean up some spots. This Made with AI was auto-labeled by Instagram when I posted it. I did not select this option," he wrote, but Yan's photo was labeled as AI because he had used generative AI tool to remove a trash bin in the photo in the bottom left. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it here. He's kind of zoomed in on the right to the raw photo to show you where the trash bin was. Removing unwanted objects and spots is par for the course for photographers, so to have the entire image labeled as AI seems unfair. Mosseri did answer Yan asking, did this label get added automatically? As of publication, Yan's photo of Mount Fuji no longer has the Made with AI marker on it. So someone went in and removed it, I guess. This is from an article from Petapixel by Matt Grokut. Just pulled from there to give you some context. But that's what we're looking at. As wedding photographers.
It is interesting because when I first saw it on Threads, he had not clarified that he used the generative AI tool.
Interesting.
So I was like, I don't mean to be a dingus here, but for sure, what you thought was not an AI generated thing, short of you using a spot removal or a clone mask, like a cloning tool or whatever, if you're using the box selection that then generative fills, it is made with the assistance of AI.
It's taking that image and saying what using the reference of the entire image can I create to make this look cohesive and like a thing. Like it's not clone stamp, it's not spot removal.
No.
It's literally like let's generate something in its way.
If a robot was involved,
it
was technically made with the assistance of AI, and I think that they're going to have to start coming. We're in an exciting time here.
Yes,
Tim.
we are.
I'm genuinely jazzed about it. I'm a big fan of AI.
Me too, man.
I really think there are so many scary things that can happen with it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if we've talked about
Let's
this.
Peel it back a bit. Let's peel it back a bit because in the days before, even tools like Imagine AI, which help us edit things so quickly and so cohesively across a gallery of hundreds of images, I would probably do less with my images because I had to focus so much of my energy on making sure that the whole gallery looks cohesive in different lighting situations and make sure everyone's looking, proper and focused, do my own coloring, all that stuff. So I would probably do less on more images as opposed to like what I do now. So for instance,
less creatively
and less like removing of things. So for instance, at a venue in town called Hacienda, which used to be the best and now it's whatever, because they did some shady shit. There's a stop sign. There's an exit sign that glows under one of the arches where people usually walk in.
Yes.
I would go through and I would clone stamp and I would get rid of it for maybe like the epic images, like the images where I'm like the couples in the shot. I want them to print this.
And the glow was still around it. You'd remove the sign and then the glow was still on the walls.
Yeah. And Castro Mill has the same thing. They have a big exit sign just above where the couple walks in for their procession.
I get it. It's literally a door.
It's literally a door, and it's part of fire safety. I understand. But now with things like AI, when it comes to Imagine, where it's editing everything, I have way more time, way more bandwidth to go into individual images, maybe 20 or 30 from the entire day, and be like, okay, let's get rid of the stop sign, let's get rid of these exit signs, let's move that little car out of the way, because it's literally just dragging, selecting, generative, get it out of here.
Every once in a while, it'll put something funny in.
Great, sure, put a clown in.
Put a random baby in there.
Why not?
Why is there a
babies?
Foot? I didn't need the card of your. I didn't need the card of your place with a giant foot, but now it is, and that's okay.
A jack-o'-lantern. Yeah. So,
do you think?
Okay.
Just because we can, should we?
I think if we can make things. Well, here's an example. If it's something that could move, like a car, for instance, that wouldn't be there if it wasn't there, I think yes. If it helps improve an image and creates the focus that we want, it's not photojournalism. So you're saying I could
get a saw and cut down the sign that says
you could
stop.
cut down a tree. You could get a screwdriver and take out a stop sign. Good question. I think when you're talking about portraiture and you want to create an image that reminds people of what the day looks like without distractions, I think being able to remove things that are distracting from an image that aren't part of the story.
Our clients won't remember the stop sign.
They won't think about it.
It's not like I'm removing grandma.
No, you're not moving parts of the day that were important.
Yes, we're not removing things like that were meaningful, or even something that they would remember and we're trying to improve on reality. I'm probably not going to do that. I'm probably not going to do that at all. Maybe for a couple of photos if I'm very much like specifically asked. Here's where I draw the line.
Okay, where's the line for you?
I will not put a sunset in a sky if it was a gray day.
God, no.
I had a client last year ask me to do it, and I can't tell you how wrong it felt. Honestly, it felt really, really uncomfy for me. However, I knew it was what was going to make her happy in the end, and so I just did it. She had sent me a few reference images before the wedding. Yeah. And I did actually speak to her at the time, and I said, these skies aren't real, just so you know. The sun sets in the opposite direction, first of all.
It's just how Earth is.
The sun literally sets on the other side of this area.
So this is a fake thing.
So I would have to put a fake sky in there. And I actually couldn't remember if in the sales pitch I said, like, which I guess I could do. Because I couldn't remember if I had done an educational moment or if I just let it go sort of as a sure, I'll sell you on it.
Great.
And because of that, I felt like that's a customer service moment. But moving forward, it just felt so wrong. Yeah. Because I really wanted to clarify, you had a rainy day and it was beautiful. And it was beautiful because it was rainy. Yeah. And I don't want photos of my work showing up online with a completely different sky than exists here. And it's literally not even possible for that sky to exist here for a number of reasons.
Why don't you put a couple planets in the sky at that point? You know what I mean?
Literally.
Put a spaceship up there and a dinosaur flying.
One thing I would have done in this scenario, there were a lot of hydro lines. I'll remove the hydro lines.
Sure. See, removing things.
Because if I had shot it on a better lens, the hydro lines might not be there. Yeah. Right? Maybe not a better lens, but if I had just made a different choice with the lens, I could have gotten the hydro lines out of the shot. If there's something I could have done to shoot it better and differently, then I will do it. One thing I will always do for girls, especially because I feel like I hate the same thing, is like I will get rid of like an under chin situation. So if I feel like they've got like not the jawline that they were hoping for,
snatch it up
in certain images, then I will get rid of it. Because if it was there in other photos, it's not like they're going to look at that photo and know, oh, I was making like a weird, especially wedding photos. Guys will generally, or just if there's a couple where one of you is taller and one of you is shorter, the shorter one will tuck their chin in, the taller one will smooch the top of their heads. And unless you have the snatchiest of snatched jawlines, it's going to do something spooky to your jawline.
This guy.
Yeah, if you had that guy's jawline, then no amount of head tilting down is going to give you an under chin. But I will use, and it's actually one of my favorite things to do, is just like use the generative fill, and like you just grab the whole jawline and it'll give you 3 different versions of a jawline.
Amazing. I didn't know you could do that. I still use the What's it called?
Liquify.
The Liquify tool.
Oh,
we're beyond that
I'm
now.
gonna change your life.
Okay.
And it gives you 3 different versions of whatever it is you're looking for, and you can just choose the one that looks the most like them in reality.
You did it for me in the engagement photos with Kelly and I was looking at the window ones. I'm like, that's not my chin. Thanks, Lindsay.
That's not true. That's not true. I didn't do that. No.
Are you sure?
That's not true.
Okay.
See, this is the other thing. Once you start telling people that you do it, then they start looking out for it. I had a client be like, wow, you did so much retouching. I look amazing. And I'm like, you forgot what you looked like. That was you. I literally didn't retouch those at all.
Okay, interesting.
So there is a fine line. Aside from on this podcast, I don't really talk about the amount of retouching that I do. I just tell my clients, I'll make you look like the best version of yourself.
And we've been doing that for years. It's not a new thing.
We have the tools now.
We've been enhancing people with things like portraiture back in the day when we would use that to like smooth skin. It just makes people feel more confident. It's a better remembrance of the day, and it's a better image. And that's what our couples and clients pay us for, is to capture them looking their goddamn best on their wedding
And
day.
sometimes the reason why they didn't look their best was not their own doing.
Yeah.
It was because I didn't adjust the pose, or I thought instead of me adjusting the shit out of this, I'd rather them just live in it and have fun and let it be an imperfect photo.
Yeah.
And then I looked back on it and I thought,
could have taken another 5 seconds and made it.
Or they're not going to like it as is. So I'd rather tweak it so that it's an image that they're going to like. If it's to the point that it's an image that now they're going to look at themselves and think that, like, that's so funny that that you thought that, because I actually didn't do anything to those photos.
Amazing. Yeah, wow. Look at me.
Just a snatched jawline, Timmy Tim.
I just know my angles.
Just know your angles. Great photographer, good camera.
Your camera takes.
My camera took really good photos.
Good grief.
I never want my clients to think, what did she do?
Yeah.
So if I do go too far, I usually do have to take a step back and be like, that doesn't look like them anymore. And then they're going to start critiquing the rest of their photos. So that's definitely where I'll draw the line. Is like, if it doesn't look like how they could have naturally posed, if they don't look like they could have looked like that on that day, if I had just changed an angle or something like that, then I'm not going to do it. That's not for me.
That's not for them.
I will change landscapes. I will adjust outfits. If an outfit has gone, squirrely somewhere.
Removing weird distractions from the day are
hair,
I think,
veil, those things.
Well within the bounds of what we deem acceptable for modifying an image.
What were you going to say? You had a groom?
I had a groom who had a cold sore, and he looked at me when we got
rough.
there, and he's like, "Hey man, this." I'm like, "You're never going to see it again." He's like, "Thanks so much." And that was the beginning of the day, and I think that just primed him to be able to be open and free and not be like hiding his face the whole day, knowing that it's going to be in photos. Just being upfront with me was such a lovely thing, and was vulnerable, and I appreciated it, and I got that thing out of every photo. So
here's another really specific one, and this was
2017.
Okay, this is actually an area where I feel like this labeled edited with AI is going to become problematic.
Okay,
because I don't care if photos of Mount Fuji show up with that, but what if a photo of my client that they don't know that I retouched starts showing up with made with AI?
Yeah. What are they going to think?
If that photo where I did this jaw situation, they post it, and now they're going to say to their friends, like, this is like a Kim Kardashian level of thing where Kim is like, hey, I didn't retouch that photo.
Yeah.
Maybe my editor did, but I didn't retouch that photo.
Exactly.
Are they going to think, did she just remove a golf cart from the back, or did she make my waist more snatched?
Yeah.
And that's where I think that this is going to get spooky. I am curious if I scrub actually, this is going to be an interesting thing for us to try.
Okay.
If I scrub the EXIF data off of every photo, if it will still show up with it.
Can you export from Lightroom without EXIF data? Can you just like take all the metadata out?
Oh, of course.
Here we go.
So that's what I will probably end up doing.
Interesting.
I already do that for a lot of people because I don't want them to do a deep dive into my settings.
Yeah.
Like, not that I think there's anything wrong with them, but it's actually because I have a lot of people that just get a little too curious about how things are made.
Interesting.
And I don't think that you need to know how the baby was made.
Especially if you just have a shared license for printing and
here's another specific question. So we had at a recent wedding, we had a really rough incident where the grandma fell before family photos, before she had arrived. So we were at family photos and, we got a sort of like sideways from somebody saying, hey, just, grandma's not going to be here for a little bit.
Okay.
She might meet up with us at the ceremony.
Right.
Grandma was at the ceremony with an enormous cut on her head.
And a
so
bandage.
she had fallen, and she was clearly embarrassed about it. And
there was a paramedic in the family, luckily, so they looked after her.
And she had seen somebody. Like she had been looked after. She was really well looked after, but it was really, really important to her that she was there, and I loved that she was there.
She made it.
And she at first was really hesitant to have her photo taken, and then I assured her that I would have it taken care of. And previous to Photoshop and now Lightroom's generative AI fill, I would have sent this off to retouch up.
Yeah.
Because it was this in-depth of a job. As you can imagine, grandma's skin tone is uneven. She has now this gash on her head.
Right above her eye too.
Yeah, like right above her eye. And we're not talking like a small gash. Like it was, I'm not going to get into it, but it was inches. It was in depth.
Yeah.
For sure. And probably if it wasn't a wedding day, she would just be at home.
Yeah.
But it was a wedding day, and she wasn't.
She was such a trooper, man. I'm so.
But I said to her, I will make sure that this is not in the photos. Yeah. Part of me does feel like I might leave it like not front and center in all of the photos. I might leave it in a few, even just a couple of specific ones with the bride and groom. I might leave so that the bride later on will remember how much her wedding day meant to her grandma, that she showed up.
Yes.
Even after she had a tumble.
Yeah.
And again, comes down to, do I really want to change reality entirely? I don't think I want to remove that memory from the day.
There's a balance there, right?
It's interesting. We have the ability to completely change how people remember their wedding days.
Absolutely.
Like I've had people that had a really shitty experience on their wedding day. They get their photos back. They forget entirely that things went wrong because we just don't include those portions of the day. We can rewrite history in their minds.
Yep.
And that is a very powerful thing to be able to do. But I mean, with great power comes great responsibility. So I do have to give a huge kudos to the Adobe team. You guys screw with me a lot, but in your ability for me to make this woman not only excited to show up for her grandchildren at the wedding, but also totally okay with being in photos, because she knows that I
got her back.
Am going to make sure that she doesn't have this massive thing, in some of what hopefully will be her favorite photos with her grandkids and with her family members, and what will hopefully be some of their favorite photos of her down the line, right?
Absolutely.
So again, big old fans of AI. However, if I deliver those photos and Mosiri puts a made with AI label when their granddaughter posts them, Mosiri,
coming for you, man.
Do you see this face? We are serious.
We took the sign down.
Don't do that, okay?
To get better lighting. We'll do anything. We'll move heaven and earth.
We will do anything. Do not
fuck with us. It's a Fight Club quote. I think that adding this label to posts on Threads, Facebook, Instagram, whatever social media going forward, because they're going to kind of set a precedent here for other social medias that exist in the future, is very helpful for things like video and audio, especially with the U.S. election coming up, Canadian election. Like, people can modify shit, do deep fakes where we don't know if it's actually the person quoted saying these things. There could be another diss track thing between Drake and what's his name that could be completely fabricated. Lamar,
I love
Kendrick Lamar, and
I love that it's what's his name. Oh boy, okay.
Well, clearly we're Canadian.
Canadian boys.
Where do our allegiances lie? Kelly would kill me. She loves Kendrick Lamar. So I think it's important for things like that, especially given that so many people get their information
really
and their news feed from things like Instagram and Facebook and Threads now. So it's helpful for for fully generated things that do not exist.
Where was Meta in the last election? Where was Meta when Donald Trump was making all kinds of outlandish claims, and they still put that out on the internet?
Profit, baby. And then they got their hand slapped by Congress, and they're like, okay, well, let's make some concessions.
He's allowed to say out loud with his actual words.
Yes.
This election was rigged. That jury was rigged. This trial was rigged. We know factually that. Listen, I don't want to get too deep here.
We're not a political podcast.
But when there are facts. Facts do exist, right?
Love a fact.
Okay.
Hit it.
Facts do exist. So if the facts say this, and someone says this out loud, and then they are allowed to employ bots, and they are allowed to make fake accounts, and those fake accounts are allowed to spawn,
yes,
and they are allowed to reach our dear parents And during COVID and during one of the most tumultuous times in both the US and Canada and really around the world during COVID, after George Floyd's death, there was so much intentional misinformation that Meta is 100% responsible for.
Absolutely.
IMO.
No.
Because they allowed that to happen. Do I think that the CNN and CBC and they were all spreading fake shit as well? Of course.
But they were also getting a lot of their stuff from these outsourced.
They're literally using, they would be like, oh, we saw this on social media, and then they would make an article about it. Like, how often do you see news articles? I mean, even this Petapixel one is literally referencing a thing that they saw on Threads. Yeah. Okay. So we are now just think tanks and we're just commenting on things that we've seen online. And so if I just comment on a thing I saw online, even though maybe I am a more trusted and reliable news source than the person that I saw online, but someone sees, oh, imagine I'm CNN. CNN reported it, so it must be true. That's when we would get our parents calling us being like, hey, so we saw this on a trusted news source. Yeah. The trusted news source was literally just spewing for the sake of spewing because it's 24-hour news.
They got to fill the fucking calendar and fill the hours with stuff.
So that's where I would like to know, why is this the hill that Meta is dying on?
I don't know.
Why is AI their big concern?
I guess they're just forecasting.
You guys weren't super concerned when you had political leaders, currently still political leaders on both sides of it. I think they're all trash, to be clear. Every single one of them is terrible.
None of them are good.
We need a lawless society. Bring back cowboys.
Oh, shit. We're doing it?
But when did they decide to care is my big question. When did you guys decide to care? You're still removing women's nipples from the internet.
True.
So what the actual, I just have questions.
Shareholders, man, they want to make profit. I don't have another excuse other than that. And also, like, I think it's just topical, right? People talking about AI, they want to be part of the conversation. They want to be included in that. And then they make headlines on things like Petapixel. Yeah. And then we talk about it on a fucking podcast.
My guess is, and this is my actual guess, is that they got in so much shit with the U.S. Congress over the last number of years.
Trying to get ahead of things?
That I think that they're trying to say, look, we're trying. We're trying, and maybe it is just a legal thing because they're obviously not trying super well. No. I do appreciate it. As content creators, it can be really scary, the amount of samples we have of ourselves on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
No one needs my DNA. No. They just need a face and a voice, and they have
your fingerprint
a lot
from
of
Apple.
that.
Thanks.
Thankfully, I have, like, Taylor and I both, and you probably do too, have like a code with our parents of, like, if someone ever calls you and says, hey, I'm in Mexico and I need $10,000 to get out of jail, you got to ask some more questions.
Purple monkey dishwasher.
Right? Like, you need to ask some more questions because, I mean, Taylor and I have our own safeguards in place of, like,
that's good.
Sort of our own boundaries. Listen, I'm not wealthy enough. I'm not interesting enough. I'm not popular enough for anybody to actually try to do this.
Okay.
However, I just would hate if one of my loved ones ever got duped because the next, hey, we're calling to clean your ducks scam is, hey, it's your daughter and I'm in jail and I need 10 grand to get out.
Oof.
And especially because we travel so much and I don't always answer my phone. I think that these are real options, So am I happy that social media is giving it the old college try? Yes, but I just want to know where you guys were in 2016 and in 2020.
Answer for your crimes.
For your crimes.
I think that's it, man. You have to go. I
wish that this was a call-in show that somebody could literally call in and chat with us.
We just have people saying Baba Booey.
Let's have a live,
You want to do a live?
No.
Okay. We did a live with all right, it doesn't matter. Listen, we have a exciting episode coming up with Scott from Imagine in
so excited.
A couple weeks from now.
We literally cannot wait.
We did a bit of a live. And so maybe we should implement a live. Let us know in the comments below.
Oh my gosh, do you want to come on the show with us?
And listen, you need to subscribe to the show. Subscribe on YouTube. Right. Subscribe on all the podcasting apps you do. Leave us a review. Jump down into the basement.
Leave us a review.
Give us a comment.
Leave us a review.
Give us your DMs. Give us your hot takes. It's not stupid. It's a good thing. Whatever you think is like, oh, that's a silly question. It's not.
You've got a silly question. I guarantee
we have a better
1,100 people have the same silly question as you. Maybe Tim and I already have the same silly question.
Yeah.
Even just a thought. Just a little thought catalog that you've got. You see something weird on Threads, you want to be like, hey guys, what do you think of this?
We'll tell you what we think.
We'll tell you what we think. Why wouldn't we? Why the heck wouldn't we?
Microphone cheers, Lindsay.
Oh, I don't like it, but I'll do it. Oh, I hated it so much.
Okay, we won't do that again. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing.
Love you
that
guys.
bell.
Thank
Love
you for listening.
See you next week.